Hello, IEJ76 Ian here, and this is round 4 of the AOR F12017 on the PlayStation 4 Tier F8, and we are in Russia, in Sochi, for round 4. And as you can see, it's raining, which wasn't good news for me because for some reason I decided not to practice in the wet for Russia, despite having pretty much 3 weeks to do so. I don't know why I didn't think it would rain, but here we are. Thankfully, the forecast is for a dry race, and this was our third attempt at qualifying right at the end. The first one was very slow lap. The second one we got held up by a competitor, and on this one we went much quicker. It was a decent lap for us. As you can see, Wild Ditto's just gone fastest. He ended up taking his 4th pole from 4 races, crazily 2.2 seconds I think it was quicker than the second place guy. But this lap was fairly good for us and put us up to 6th, which is higher than certainly we would have got in the dry, so we've qualified ahead of schedule. Now this was a fairly easy call for strategy, a straightforward one-stop race even with our tyre wear. We'll start on the ultra softs and then move to the supers on lap 11. So here we are then, about to start, and this was a start I was nervous about because it's the first time I've used manual gears in AOR. And it's a reasonable start really, actually, considering I'd spun into the wall a couple of times in practice, thankfully against AI cars. We are still holding our own in 7th place, and I thought about maybe going down the inside there, but a bit too cautious on the brakes. Everyone keeping fairly clean and tidy. Ooh, nearly, I think I just tapped Foxy Poxy's Sauber there, and I got a new guy who's joined the league this time, Jason, who's up close behind me. And he's going to have a little couple of pops down here, just about hold him off. And I didn't really expect him to have another go at me here. He came down the inside, and I defended fairly strongly. I was worried that I'd actually caused him to spin off. He did touch the back of me, but I think from comments afterwards it was nothing too untoward by myself, and he unfortunately spun, but did get going again on his first race, so being nice and aggressive for his first race. So we find ourselves in 7th place, which isn't too bad. The top 6, to be honest with you, knowing their pace, we're probably not going to get near now, so it's a question of consolidating our 7th place and making sure we don't make too many mistakes like cutting corners, which is particularly easy to do here in Russia. In fact, I've never gone through a practice race without getting a time penalty. Moving on to lap 7, not a lot happened in the intervening laps. I was just solidly on my own in 7th place, but now ZQ has picked up some good pace in the Renault. He's got into our slipstream as we go down to turn 2, and he's already there. I let him have the corner, try and do a bit of a cut back, which didn't work, but actually we got much better traction, and this was great fun going around the inside of this fantastic long left hand. And really, for me, the only decent corner there is on this track, which I find quite frustrating. So I've held on to that position. First time I think we've had a repass so far in AOR this season. And this is the moment later on in lap 7 where we lost our position. Very cautious on the brakes. As ZQ with a brave move down the inside, very clean, and he's away, and we're down to 8th. And here we are a couple of laps later on lap 10, and Guy Hoyts hasn't really moved too far away from us, so I was beginning to think, well, maybe this isn't going to be a battle that's over with, and he makes a bit of a mistake there. I run 1. I'm quite lucky not to get a penalty there because I think I did gain some time, but now I'm all over the back of the Mercedes, and I'm thinking about having a go into 7th. I know I've only got this lap and lap 11 before I make my scheduled pit stop, and so it was a question of, do I go for it, or do I just sit here and try and undercut on the pit stops, make a bit of a hash of that corner, which lost any momentum I had on Guy Hoyts. But coming up shortly is where my heart was really in my mouth, and I could see the end of the race staring me in the face. As you can see, we go through this tricky left-hander. Guy Hoyts spins it, I put the brakes on, and he so could easily have accidentally come into the side of us, but we live to fight another day, and we are back up to 7th. And here we are towards the end of lap 11. We're coming in for our scheduled pit stop, our one and only pit stop hopefully, to move from the purple sidewall tyres ultra soft to the red super softs. Quite an early pit lane speed limit here. There we are, a little bit cautious but not too bad. And we're definitely going to go to the end of the race on the super softs. Our tyre wear is not particularly good, but from the practices I've done, it's not been a problem to get to the end of the race, so it should be quite straightforward. Our mechanics get to work. Let on go the red super soft tyres. I've not done as many laps on the super soft as I have with the ultra soft, so we'll have to see how our pace is. We're going to rejoin, I think, in 10th place, still in the points, so that was quite reassuring. Know that others still have pit stops to make, but we were at least in the points as it stood. On to lap 18, and we're still in 7th, but under big pressure from the Sauber Foxy's Proxy, who's picked up the DRS. He's got a good slipstream, and I think he's going to go down the inside fairly straightforwardly. Tried to think about coming back, but he held the line well, and we are down unfortunately to 8th. Coming towards the last few corners of the race, we're up to 7th because ZQ unfortunately had to change a wing after a minor off. Guy Hoyts is fairly close to us, but we're managing the gap with the rain that's come down in the last couple of laps, but we've not needed to change tyres at all, and we come home in a reasonably satisfactory 7th place. So our top 3 Wild Ditto's first win of the season. The man who's taken all 4 poles finally gets to the top step of the podium. Nezrin with his second podium from 2 starts, and the dependable Washi, the only man with 100% podium finishing record, in 3rd. So here are the final positions. There we are, sat in 7th place. Only 11 people finished this race. Disappointing for McQuiz that he couldn't start, as he's well up in the championship because he had technical difficulties. At the top you can see the point standings. We are in 5th place on 34 points, and next time it's Spain next Sunday.